On this episode of the Star Trek Universe podcast, we are talking about a rather cryptic tease from everyone's favorite Q, our review of Star Trek Discovery 310, Terra Firma Part 2, and your feedback right after these messages from sponsors who do not in any way, shape, or form answer to us.
Welcome to the Star Trek Universe podcast, the podcast where you get to listen in on the continuing Star Trek conversation that two lifelong friends have been having since they were 5 years old. My name's Matthew Carroll.
David C. Robertson.
Dave. So
yes, sir.
You have some news, or like some cryptic, interesting, surreptitiously squandered news.
I haven't seen this posted anywhere. All right. Our friend and listener, Jason Smith, sent me a video. He was looking into Cameo. This is the service where you pay celebrities to send you or send different people messages, whatever. And I guess one of the one of the more recent examples of this was from John Lancie. Was a cameo where he was, and dude, look, a lot of these people don't do very long cameos. This guy, John Lancie, did like two minutes, it looked like.
Yeah.
And told a nice story about Gene Roddenberry talking to him on set, but drops this cryptic little news nugget, and he says, "Oh, you'll be seeing me again soon."
All right, so send me this link. We're gonna watch this. We're gonna listen to this audio. All right, I'm gonna play this audio. This is an audio from a cameo from cameo.com from John Lancie. Here we go.
I'm sending you greetings. Merry Christmas. Merry Christmas to you, your dad, the whole family. It says here that you and your dad watch the show together, and you really enjoy it. You know, I can't tell you how much pleasure I get out of that. I've been in a lot of shows, but this is such an unusual experience to be able to be on a show that the grandfather, father, grandson, grandmother, daughter, granddaughter are all able to watch the same show and get something out of it. That's really unusual. And to think that all of that started 34 years ago. That's when I walked on the stage of Encounter at Farpoint. And about 2 or 3 days into shooting, the dailies had come through, and I think they liked what I was doing. And I was just standing there and watching them do a setup, getting ready for the next shot. And a voice behind my shoulder said, "You have no idea what you've gotten yourself into." And I turned around and it was Gene Roddenberry. And I said, "Gene, what are you talking about?" And he goes, "Oh, you'll find out." Well, here it is. 34 years later, I'm finding out. Oh, and by the way, here's a little stocking stuffer for you and your dad. You're going to be seeing more of me. Cheers. Merry Christmas. Oh, and let's just cross our fingers that 2021 is going to be better. It just has to be better than 2020. I just know it's going to be better. Cheers.
Wow.
Right.
When you told me about this, I was like, maybe depending on how he says that, like it could be interpreted differently, but like that's why I wanted to play the full clip and get it in context.
Right.
He is clearly saying like, here's a stocking stuffer. Here's a bit of news just for you. It's almost as if John Lancie might not know that these cameos are made public after they're played.
Maybe not, man.
Because that is straight up some news right there.
Right. And I haven't seen it anywhere.
Well, it's right here on the Star Trek Universe podcast, guys. I think I'm going to say that we can pretty well speculate Q's coming back. And I don't know if his connection to 2021 and 2020 is anything, but maybe this year, or that's an completely unconnected statement. But either way, I
think it's unconnected. I do think that it dates it and tells you with all the holiday talk that this is very recent. So he would not have been talking about last year's Lower Decks episode.
No. That's true. That's true.
And when you look at the most likely candidate, Picard is shooting in January.
Oh, yeah. No, this is definitely Picard, if it's anything. Right?
God, I hope so. And, season 2 of Picard, we have confirmed for Whoopi Goldberg. And we know that Q and Guinan had a past, had a history together.
Yeah. And we've always wondered what that real history is. Yeah, dude, this is cool. This is really, really cool. So everybody keep an eye out for that. Spread the word. Tell them you heard on the Star Trek Universe podcast, because this is big. This is big that John Delancey looks to be returning to the role of Q. That's amazing.
Yeah, and I've seen a few people talk about not specifically this news, but say like, oh, they can't do Q because he's too old. But Q always matches Picard's age whenever he shows up.
Yeah.
Q
can look however he wants to look.
All good things.
Yeah, for sure. And Q can look however he wants to look. He could jump around in age. He can do whatever he wants. And I don't see any reason he will not appear as Picard's age, like you said.
Keep the facial hair, man. That was good stuff.
Yeah. And speaking of, this week we have this Discovery episode to talk about, Terra Firma Part 2. And yeah, I really thought we were getting a Q on that episode.
Oh, I feel so stupid.
For not getting who it was.
After we recorded last week, I was looking around and I started seeing more reports of what's on the back page of that newspaper. There's the good soup quote about the 21st Street mission, and there's like, dude, there were so many. The Star Dispatch was the same newspaper from Guardian, from City on the Edge of Forever. Dude, everything was City on the Edge of Forever, man.
Oh,
even the one thing from the Last Outpost, there was the Guardian of Takan or whatever. Like, we should have known Guardian. We should have known.
Okay.
It was just so obvious, but I can't see that stuff.
Right. We made the connection to that episode, but we thought it was connecting to lots of different time travel episodes or whatever, or something like that. And it was apparently just connecting it to the one, which is rad. And were you blown away by that reveal?
Dude, I was very happy when I heard that voice come out of his mouth.
Yeah, it was cool.
I was very happy. Like, me and my wife both squealed.
Yeah.
Oh God.
Crazy thing is, it looks like they actually. So we were talking about this episode being probably just in her head, but this looks like that she actually went over and changed the past of the other universe.
Yeah, the Guardian says that she created an alternate universe, an alternate version of the mirror universe.
Huh.
An alternate timeline of that universe. Yeah.
In City on the Edge Forever, when they change something in the past, it overwrites their timeline, So I'm assuming this would now be the timeline that is now the mirror universe of the universe they're in, I guess. If that makes sense. I mean, I don't know.
Wait, now what?
It would be now that's their mirror universe. I mean, I guess it could split off into two different timelines.
No, I don't think it's their mirror universe. I think they just created.
I do. I 100% think it's their universe, because I think they're going to continue with this Kelpian shit. Like, I think we'll find out about the Kelpian rebellion later, and that the action she took will continue to persist through this when they have another mirror universe episode in the future, and maybe on a Section 31 show she'll go over there as Georgiou and find out that the Kelpians have rebelled further.
Well, I mean, he does say that like he is sending Georgiou back to a time when the Prime timeline and the Mirrorverse were closer in proximity or whatever before they drifted apart so much.
Yeah.
But I mean, that I don't know that they are in the future of an alternate timeline. or you know what I mean? Like,
no. I think where she goes back. Well, the thing is that the time that the things they changed in that alternate past don't change anything major that doesn't connect. Mm-hmm. So yeah, I don't know.
Which, by the pretty much since Parallels, that TNG episode Parallels, where they were like, oh, every time you go back in time, you change, you create an alternate timeline. By that standard, we have not been in the prime timeline of Trek since Tomorrow Was Yesterday or whatever it was. In the first season, just whatever it was.
Sure.
So it's like every time they go back in time, they just create an alternate timeline, which would explain the whole series of continuity issues in the original series. Honestly,
sure. But yeah, man, what'd you think of this episode?
Oh, I loved it.
Yeah,
I thought it was fantastic.
I did too. I thought it was really, really good.
Yeah, I don't think I had any actual qualms with it, to be honest. Like, it felt like, I don't know, 1998 watching Deep Space Nine, man. That's what it felt like to me.
Interesting. Yeah, I see that. This whole season has felt that way to me. It's felt very like they're balancing the serialization and the episodic nature really well. They are telling a good, interesting story that I care about all the characters involved. It's been really good. It's been really, really good.
Yeah, and hearing, I knew it was coming. And as soon as he said, I am the guardian of forever, oh my God, dude, that shit, I felt it was like the entirety of watching Trials and Tribulations of DS9. It was like it was the overall feeling of all of that, but concentrated into one moment for me.
That's rad.
Where it was just oh yes, I felt so bad for the Guardian. I felt because he was talking about how they basically abused him during the temporal war and how he had to escape.
Yeah, for sure.
And I want more of that. I love time travel. I love the idea of the temporal war. Remember you and I, the thing that we were most invested in Voyager was when they started bringing in the temporal fleet. And then they never really did anything with it, which story of Voyager. But introduce a really cool concept, never do anything with it. Yeah, I love all of that stuff. So, and I felt like Enterprise pretty much did the same thing. Introduced the temporal Cold War, never did anything with it. Not for real.
Yeah, time travel is hard to tell cohesive stories. Ongoing stories with time travel are difficult. Because time travel either has to have an effect, in which case you if you can change things, it introduces all kinds of paradoxes you have to deal with.
Yeah.
And if you cannot change things, there's very little drama to be had. So that's
for sure.
It's a tough thing to have an ongoing series that messes with time travel. The only way I've seen it done sort of well, which I enjoyed this show, was the Sarah Connor Chronicles.
Oh, I thought you were going to say Doctor Who.
No, I don't think time travel's done well on that show at all. I love it. I love
think
that
it was
show.
when Moffat did it.
Nah, I don't. I think the time travel of that show is mostly trash. They just decide it works however they need it to work in the moment.
Yeah, wibbly wobbly timey wimey, man.
Exactly. That's nothing. There's nothing to that. That phrase in itself is giving up, which I like, because they're we're just going to tell our story. We don't care if it's accurate to your whatever time travel theory we're following. We're just going to tell with the story the way it's most evocative and emotional. And I'm on board with that. But it isn't good time travel stories. Time travel in that show is a vehicle. It's a vehicle to get you to the story you want to tell.
Good is subjective, though. I feel like, when if you're utilizing time travel as a means of telling a story as opposed to telling a time travel story, like I think their notion, or Russell T Davies and Stephen Moffat's ideas, and I can't really speak to Chris Chibnall at all, but their ideas seem to be more, the time travel is fun and it is a fun tool, but it's not the reason for the season. Like, the story is the reason, the characters are the reason, and if we can utilize time travel, that's great.
Right. It's just, it constantly creates conflicts that don't work.
But they acknowledge that too.
Yes. So that's fine, but like they acknowledge it. They don't acknowledge it in a way that explains it. They acknowledge it in a way that they're like, don't look over there. Which is fine. I love Doctor Who. I really do. But I would not call it a great time travel story. I don't think the time travel is what's good about it. I think the time travel is just a vehicle to get to all the other good things that are good about it.
I don't know. I think a lot of the time travel in specifically the Stephen Moffat era was really well done.
Let me explain. They do really good episodes of time travel. Like, the time travel will work a specific way for one episode, and it's like, oh, that was very cool the way they Blink, for instance, great episode. The time travel in that episode's awesome. But like, it doesn't always work the same way. Sometimes he can affect things, sometimes he can't. Sometimes things can come back, sometimes they don't. It's just all plot convenience. They never really follow rules.
Well, I like the idea that even in time travel, there are no absolutes. Like, there are gray areas. There are fixed points in time that you can't change. I like the idea that nothing is absolute.
Sure.
But that's me and my weird hangups. It makes the, when you're looking at 50 years of a continuity that's building itself, over the course of that 50 years, you're bound to have things that need to be explained. And I don't think they gave up so much as they said, this is the easiest way. This makes the most sense with everything else we've been given.
But I think it's giving up still. I think they clearly care about the show and care about the stories. I'm not saying they don't. They're just not. They're giving up on the time travel making sense, which is what they're doing inherently, and that makes it like kind of a shitty time travel story. But like, it's a great story, and I don't mind it.
And see, I like that because I am a Star Trek fan, and I've sit around and I watch all these Star Trek fans, these other Star Trek fans, complain about how Star Trek isn't being sciencey enough. And I'm like, the original series had like no grasp of science. It was full of shit.
Sure.
I loved it. It was fantastic. They did their best with what they had sometimes. But, to hold, to hold every episode up to this, like, we have to have a science advisor on staff, and you can't do this with characters because science. I think there should be more leniency, and we shouldn't just like attack a show for being quote unquote pew pew because it didn't, address the latest publication from some science person.
No, well, that's not what I'm saying. It's not. You don't have to address the latest scientific research, but you do have to. To say that it doesn't matter to follow your own rules is just to throw canon out the window. Like, that's what canon is just you following the rules you've established. And if every episode you're choosing to do it differently, it makes the part of the show you're doing that for kind of a mess. And like I said, again, I don't have any problems with the show. No need to defend it. I love Doctor Who. It's just it's kind of shitty. The way they do time travel's kind of messy. It's just messy is all. I
mean, I would think that time travel would be messy.
Sure, that is one way to look at it, and that's what that's actually what I was getting at with the Sarah Connor Chronicles. Sarah Connor Chronicles, I think, is a good example of they have similar stuff that happens because the world is constantly sort of shifting around them, and the future is always changing. So like the people that come back are always coming from a different future, but they do try to maintain sort of like the present is the present, and the people coming back from the future are always changing because every time they change something about the future. And so it's this like it's ever morphing, like the story is ever morphing, the sort of like future past of the show, if that makes sense. Like, because all these characters keep coming back from the future, but every time they come back, they change something, which makes the next person that comes back a different, because they're coming back from a different version. And so I liked the way they did that time travel.
That sounds fun and tedious at the same time.
Also, though, they don't really show the future much. So it's just always kind of characters entering the story. You might get a little bit of a backstory episode on them, but then they just jump into the present and you kind of know who they are, and then you move forward. It was well done. It was a good show.
That was one of my issues with Terminator, the Terminator franchise in general, was like, they just should have never shown the future, because once they showed me those opening scenes of the future, I didn't care about the past. I was like, no, the future is way more interesting looking. And then they went to the future and it wasn't good.
No, it was not.
But that wasn't that future's problem. That was them shifting the entire story to make sure that Dude Man got his screen time. Which one was Dude Man? Was that Christian Bale?
Yeah, thank you. Couldn't remember his name. Yeah, apparently that's what happened with that movie. The movie was supposed to be about, like, completely about that the robot with the human heart or whatever. Oh gosh, what was his name? Anyway, it was supposed to be about him, but then apparently they hired Christian Bale, and then Christian Bale comes with certain like demands to be in this movie more, and so they made the movie about him instead.
And I think there was like a whole thing where like there was an alternate ending where Christian Bale gets killed, and then like the robot Terminator or whatever becomes like, puts on Christian Bale's face.
Well, see, that's what I always wanted to happen. I don't know if that was an alternate ending, but when I saw the movie,
from what I understand, it was.
See, that makes a lot of sense. When I saw the movie, that's exactly what I thought they were about to do. At the end of sorry, we're just like talking about everything but this episode, but they stab him through the heart, and then, so spoiler alert, they stab him through the heart, he dies, and then I thought it would be a beautiful end to that story to find out that the future leader of the Resistance is a robot, Yeah. He is a Terminator. Like that would have been a wonderful ending, and like a really, and it would have been really evocative, and then Christian Bale could have been the main character of the next one because he's now got his face or whatever.
Right.
But the way they ended up doing it was just like, oh, whatever. It was
a pig heart or something. they gave him a pig heart.
No. They give him the heart of the man, so there's the Terminator.
Oh, did they?
Yeah, so he sacrifices himself to save John Connor by giving him his heart. But you're gonna tell me this heart that's just been dangling in his chest, like it's not even covered up, and they're gonna like swap the hearts while they're on a helicopter, and like it doesn't seem like the future medicine has gotten much better. So they're like doing a heart transplant, and then there's all this stuff about like rejection, and like you can't just do a heart transplant. It's not. It is much more scientifically feasible that they would make his face look like Christian Bale's face than to just like grab a heart that's just been like in the open air for the last 2 years and swap it in to John Connor's body and be like, well, that works now.
So here's my question: where did I get the pig heart thing from?
No clue.
Was that like another alternate scene that I read about?
I have no idea what you're talking about with the pig heart. I don't think so. I never knew that was an alternate scene, but when I was watching the movie, that's exactly what I thought was about to happen. And I thought it was a beautiful ending to the movie, but then they just like, they're like, nope, we can't let this beautiful character that Christian Bale's been building die. It's like, no, let him die and let this new guy take over. And
this angry, boring piece of shit that no one cares about. We can't let him go away.
I agree. I loved the other character, the main, like he was the most interesting part of the movie, and then they got rid of him at the end. And
we can't get rid of this one-dimensional action hero. He's Batman, for God's sake.
He's Batman, and his name's John Connor. It's the whole thing. I can see why they do it. Like, I see why they would be looking at it and be like, kind of invalidates everything Sarah Connor fought for, right? Like, all that time.
Yeah.
But that's what was beautiful about it to me. It was like, oh, like she was wrong all along. It was never her son that would lead the resistance. It was always going to be this robot. Like, that's so crazy and interesting. It would have been a really bold move, but they didn't do it. Anyway, let's get back to Discovery, because I do feel like we are quite far afield. And it is late.
Par for course.
Par for course. So what we got here? Discovery. I thought it was okay. I liked the episode. I definitely liked the Guardian piece, and I liked the goodbye. I did feel like her actions in the other universe did not do as much to redeem her as I kind of was expecting, maybe.
Oh, really? That's interesting.
She's still just like ruling with fear.
Yeah,
she's
her way.
Trying to make a change. I get it, but and I wouldn't want her to make a like complete 180 all at once.
She's still got to be the head of Section 31 or whatever it is. I mean,
yeah, she still needs to be Giorgio, Emperor Giorgio. She's not going to be like a goody two shoes Starfleet officer. But yeah, I guess she just like.
I mean, she ended the whole Kelpian slavery eating Kelpian thing.
Yes, agreed. And she started trying to bring peace. Like, it was definitely a good move. She's doing good things, but I guess she's still not understanding how to, like, her constant punishment of Burnham, her breaking of Burnham.
Yeah.
And I don't.
But if she hadn't done that, like, the fact that she didn't kill her already put her in a tremendous amount of danger.
Yeah,
if she had not tortured the hell out of Burnham, like she would have been subject to so much mutiny.
I agree.
Everybody would have been trying to kill her. I thought Killy was going to try to kill her just because she didn't kill her. You know what I mean?
I thought so too. Although, now that I really think about it, there's that one beautiful scene with the Fireflies.
Yes.
That was absolutely beautiful. And that is her. It made me cry because it's her for the first time using the carrot instead of the stick. And it is showing a lot of growth in her character. So maybe I don't mind it as much as I was saying. I'm still like watching her sort of just be vicious Giorgio, just a little less vicious. And I'm kind of like, is she ready to be our protagonist yet? Like I guess I don't know that she still understands the changes she needed to make. I don't know. Yeah. She understands some of them.
I thought all of the stuff with Slave Saru was beautiful and showed a lot more depth, like outside of like having to put up a front with the crew of Discovery or feeling like she did. Like, I saw more humanity in Giorgio, and then the Firefly thing was just the cherry on the sundae.
Yeah, I really liked the Firefly scene a lot.
And I love that she still had to kill Burnham, and that when she comes back and the Guardian's like, I mean, but it was under different circumstances. The important thing was you tried.
Yeah.
Like, you showed tremendous change.
The only thing I really wanted out of this episode that I didn't get, what at the end when she tells Saru that he's gone, that she's gone, that Giorgio is gone, right? I really wanted Burnham to tell him that the reason the Guardian let her go was she saved the life of a Kelpian named Saru.
Yeah.
And Saru doesn't learn that. And I thought that would have been like a really powerful thing for Saru to learn, because Saru, basically by spending face-to-face time and earning the respect of Giorgio, he like he won her over to the value of his life and made her go and fight for his people's freedom in the other universe. Like that's beautiful. And I don't think we didn't get to see his reaction. We saw Burnham's reaction, but we didn't get his reaction to that.
Did we see her reaction? I don't remember Giorgio telling her that.
The Guardian tells them. That's why he says that she can live. Like she says, how did I pass the test? Because I still let her die. It's all meaningless if I still let her die. He's like, no, but you saved the life of a Kelpian, and he's going to save many more.
Mm-hmm.
And that to me was super powerful, and I just needed Saru to learn that. And like, I would have loved to see Doug Jones act his ass off, and like, it's making me choked up thinking about the scene that didn't happen, because like Saru learning that him gaining the respect of Giorgio and the way he has comported himself over this 3 years or whatever, turned her into a Kelpian freedom fighter. Like,
right.
That's beautiful.
Yeah, you're not wrong. That would have been a good scene.
Right? Come on, guys.
Yeah, that would have been a good scene. I had forgotten that she even heard about it. Like,
yeah, the Guardian it's the Guardian talking to Giorgio, but it would have that's what would have been so perfect about it, is like, just, it would have been a simple line of like, when the Guardian told her, he said it was because she saved a Kelpian named Saru.
Mm-hmm.
And he would save many more. And like, as much as he cares about his people, as much as we've seen these last few episodes, he cares about his people being trapped on the ship.
Yeah.
Like, it would have been really powerful.
Which, by the way, the Admiral Vance does not assume that this ship caused the burn, nor does he assume that Saru didn't tell him about it because of that.
That's true. That was an assumption on my part last week, that his reaction to that might have been related to Saru feeling guilt over this. But yeah, It doesn't seem that they're connecting those things. And I guess I'm connecting things that they are not. Like telling Saru about her freedom fighter nature of Giorgio. Come on, people.
But, the fact that Admiral Vance does not connect it makes me think that's what they're going to do.
Yeah, I don't know. After this episode, it did seem like they're leaning more on the on just the fact that he's trying to, or save their people, his people. Yeah,
and now though I'm feeling like, the Admiral should have been concerned that it may have started this thing. Now they're like, don't look over here. It's probably that.
Oh yeah, that could be. Maybe that's where that connects. Is like, Saru goes over the ship, finds out the burn was the Kelpian's fault, and then he sort of like connects it in his brain, like, this would have never happened if I didn't. Oh man, I kind of caused the burn myself, didn't I? We all did. All of Discovery saving the Kelpians for like led them out into the world, and then they caused this. They went. We taught the Kelpians that they could survive Vahari, and then they got out into the world and caused the greatest destruction ever.
That would be fun.
It'd be fun. It'd be a weird sort of dark morality tale.
Yeah,
about
I like it.
Don't save people. Like, that's not good. But
no. I don't like. At the end of the day, though, the lesson would be like, it would probably be Michael telling Saru, but like, you can't feel guilt. You did the right thing. You can't you should give people freedom, but you can't hold yourself responsible because they utilized it.
Yeah. Like that could be a very interesting conversation for them to have. So I hope that's where they're going, I guess. I don't know if it is, though. I have no clue.
I was not hoping that's where they were going. Now I'm feeling like kind of maybe I do hope that's where they go, because it does sound interesting.
It does. It does indeed.
You sold me last week on it, I think.
Oh, well, thanks.
Or whatever week that was.
I think it was probably last week. What else we got going on in this episode that we need to chat about?
Oh, hell, I don't know.
I don't either, man. I feel like it's pretty straightforward episode with I mean, pretty focused, I guess is what I mean. Georgiou just trying to be a better version of herself in this other universe and pass the test. And the test, I guess that's a really cool thing, is she thinks the test that she's trying to pass is changing her greatest regret,
Yeah.
But the test that the Guardian is looking at is, how are you treating everyone? What are you doing for people? What is the difference that your time in this world has made to you? And the difference is the Kelpians. And I thought that was gorgeous. Just very annoyed that Saru doesn't know. What do you think this means for Edith Keeler, the Edith Keeler episode?
What do you mean?
Well, was the Guardian testing, because this is a test, right? Was the Guardian testing Kirk?
That's interesting. I don't know. I don't think so. I think this is, because the Guardian said, back in the old days, people would just go through, things were changed, and that was it. But because of the temporal war, like, he went far away from everybody. So I think he does, and he may actually have an ability to create an alternate timeline, stick Georgiou in a pocket universe, a little pocket version of that reality. And yeah, it makes a new reality, but, before he actually sends them back into the real timeline. Maybe there's something like that. They could always play with that. They could always say that kind of crap, because it's science fiction.
Sure.
I mean, he can clearly make himself look like he wants. He could teleport anywhere in the galaxy.
Yeah.
I mean, the Guardian's like a freaking god, dude. Like, what are we going to do with that? He can do whatever he wants, apparently.
Yeah. I just thought it was interesting that this one was a test and that it came with a reward as well. And if that could have any kind of relation to the Edith Keeler episode.
I don't think so. No, but here's the thing, though. I think this is somewhat of a callback, because, like, the original script for City on the Edge of Forever, they get back, or they get McCoy, and then they go back up, and it turns out they're on, like, basically in the Mirrorverse. This is before Mirror Mirror ever happened, and I think the Enterprise was called the Condor. And it is basically like a reality where the Nazis won, and that resulted in sort of like the Nazi Enterprise and the Condor. So, like, Harlan Ellison kind of tapped that before they did later on the show.
Interesting.
And they changed all of that for the script. They went through several rewrites, and Harlan was not happy with that, but
right.
I did wonder, like, I chuckled as I was watching this, as he said, "I am the Guardian of Forever," because I remembered a few years ago, or several years ago now, when there was a rumor that the 2009 Star Trek was going to have someone utilizing the Guardian of Forever to go back in time and change things, and that the 2009 or the Kelvinverse would have been a byproduct of someone changing history through the Guardian of Forever. And no one had talked to Harlan Ellison about it, and Harlan was incensed and threatened to sue and wrote nasty letters, and then they were like, "Dude, chill. That's a rumor. We're not doing that." So, like, I wonder, like, did they talk to Harlan's estate?
For this, yeah.
Is there going to be an angry lawyer coming after Discovery? Another one?
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, they've had enough of those already.
Mm-hmm. I do want to say I really love the thing where Saru was like, is she dead or is she deceased? And Michael says she's gone forever. And Saru says
she is deceased.
So then she is deceased. And they, like, held, like, a memorial for her. Like, I liked that a lot. Like, that made me cry.
Like, we need to mourn the loss of this friend.
That distracted me from the fact that, like, it made me not think about the fact that he didn't know about his counterpart. I was just like, oh, if a friend is gone forever from your life, they are dead.
Yeah. Yeah. It is.
Made me sad, man.
That was sad. That was really sad. Well, you want to get into some feedback?
Sure. Liquidaria over on Twitter says, should we have that conversation now about the melody on Star Trek and how the burn went down? That melody was playing in the distress message, wasn't it? And basically caused a buttload of Federation ships to just blow up. I maintain that we don't have confirmation that the melody did it.
It definitely seems connected.
It seems connected in some way, but it doesn't feel like it was that the melody itself was the burn. Yet.
No, I wouldn't say the melody is necessarily the burn, but it definitely sounds like whatever. I think what happened is this little ship is stuck in this whatever anomaly, and it decides to do something to try to get itself loose. Try to either free itself or to save itself or whatever. And when it does, it sends a signal out, maybe not deliberately, and, causes the burn, but also spreads this melody across the stars somehow.
I am still in love with the concept of the Titanic thing where they know that they're dying, so they play soothing music to keep everyone calm as they pass.
Ooh. Yeah, that's rough.
And it being like a Kelpian song, maybe, and in that way they maybe they even know that it's like ingraining into the cultures and the hearts and minds of everyone in that system as like the last bit of their own culture or something being put out there or something. I don't know, man. That just sounds cool to me. I like that.
Yeah. It's very possible.
I'm not saying that's what happened, definitely, but
Yeah. And we're definitely getting, it's at the moment, it's feeling very, as we've said before, very Doctor Who. So I'm interested to see how.
Very Bad Wolf, yeah.
Yeah, very Bad Wolf. So let's see how this connects and how sciencey they get with it. Because I do want them to stay in that realm if possible. I just like when Star Trek, I don't mind if it goes the way of religion and faith and all of that. I love that stuff, but I want it to also be explainable.
Somewhat, yeah.
Yeah. Or I want there to be kind of, I love the DOA DS9 handles that kind of stuff.
Yeah. I love the prophets.
Yeah.
And yes, in a way they are gods, but also they are, wormhole aliens.
Yeah. Absolutely. What if they exist outside of time? What is the difference?
I know, right?
If
they're basically manufacturing events in our realm to ensure things in the future, then
yeah,
sounds like a god to me.
Indeed.
Timothy Castillo. I feel so bad about Timothy. He writes to us on the Facebook page.
Okay.
And they have changed things with the way Facebook pages work.
Okay.
So that we don't get messages in Messenger or anything. It just kind of shows up in an inbox somewhere and I'm not alerted to it.
Okay.
So,
yeah,
he has a few episodes worth of things to talk about.
Oh, okay. Sweet.
For Unification 3, he says, he does say maybe I'm doing this wrong. Couldn't find another way to message through the Facebooks. Man, I don't know. You can join the Star Trek Universe podcast group or just email us or something. But yeah, this is fine. I just forget about it. He says, it's in the beginning credits. They've been shown in each episode. The maintenance robot from that short that I'm not willing to look up to relearn its name. What do you think the chances are it proves to be a plot point somehow? Or do you think it was just going to be a gimmicky thing to try to sell merch? I can't really imagine why they would make a character like that and then oddly spotlight it in the credits and pepper it throughout the current series if they didn't have a certain plan in mind for it. So far, Discovery doesn't really have merch. Not really.
Yeah, I wouldn't blame it on merch here necessarily. Maybe I'm being naive, but it doesn't seem like a merch thing. It does seem like they are driving home the fact that these things exist.
They are a little bit.
They even had like dark versions with red eyes in the mirror universe, which I guess those just go around killing or something.
But they also had them show up in the first season of Discovery.
Yeah.
When they like changed the outside of the hull. So
yeah, exactly. So these have been around. I think these are just a part of the ship and a part of the show that they're trying to drive home exist. They're getting a little droid thing going on. I don't know if they're going to be a plot point in this. They could be at some point. I could absolutely see them like, being a piece of tech on the ship that goes haywire or something. But I don't know. This show doesn't really do stuff like that yet.
Yeah, yet. Like so far the show has been very like, we have a story we're telling over the course of a season, and we're not going really to do one-offs.
Yeah, this season they've done some one-offs, but the one-offs always build the bigger story.
But I wouldn't put it past just setting that up as a thing in the universe, because Strange New Worlds is coming, and it's going to be very TNG, very standalone episodes and whatnot. So,
right. Have we gotten that confirmed by them? Have they said that exactly?
They have said that there will be season-long arcs, but they have said it will be way more like TNG, as in like standalone episodes.
Okay.
That is, Strange New Worlds is what they are doing. They are doing, more serialized than TNG, but
right.
Way less serialized than Discovery is how I took it.
Okay, cool.
So I think eventually they do want to really merge this out. Obviously, like, why would you not? But as it is, if it's Kelvin verse or Kurtzman verse or whatever you want to call this, it doesn't sell nearly as well as the Prime Universe stuff, or like the old-timey Prime stuff, like the old-timey TNG and TOS stuff sell more than DS9 and Voyager do. It sells more than Kurtzman Trek.
Yeah, for sure.
Sort of just the way of things at this point in time.
Yeah.
He goes on, also say yes, Tilly. That was being planted since the second episode of this season, and I hated that Michael's mom was convenient plot. I mean, Kawat Milat. But I'm glad they followed through on that decision to let her totally pull the rug out from under Michael, so that redeemed that decision for me. Thanks for all the pod, fellas. Live long and prosper. Then he goes on for Sanctuary. Like
Live long and prosper.
We missed a couple weeks.
Thank you.
He goes on for the Sanctuary. He says, hopefully I can get this in before this week's episode recording. Sorry, buddy. He says, and sorry, I know Dave Grumbleson doesn't like Facebook. I don't like Facebook. They keep changing stuff and making it complicated. He says, I don't either. But you know what else I didn't like? This episode. Now, let me qualify a couple of things for what it was. I enjoyed it. Well, that sounds like you liked it. I love the Mirrorverse. I love Q or Q adjacent entities. So I guess it wasn't for Sanctuary. I guess it was Terra Firma. For what it was, I enjoyed it. I love the Mirror Universe. I love Q or Q adjacent entities and their shenanigans. But what is the Admiral thinking here? Either he is trying to keep them from finding that ship because he knows what's going on, or this is terrible writing. And I think he's just got more on his plate. You've got a second ship in the ship. Drop Burnham, Book, and Georgiou off at the planet, and the rest of the crew responds to the SOS. TNG did this a few times. I'm sure other series have too. The whole crew has to wait for 2 whole episodes on this. If I were Saru, I'd be like, Admiral Silverfox, we've only got so many 45 seconds of minutes left on this pony. What? I don't know what that means. We got to get moving. Just my thoughts. And a much more minor quibble. Show the ship camera and talk about it when you discover it. Adira and Stamets don't just gape. The mystery payoff was more confusing than exciting once we found out it was Kelpians. Clear storytelling from time to time makes the show good too. I have really enjoyed the season, but the last episode was bonkers in context of the season. So many hackles were up. That one's for you, Dave. Jolon true till the day is through and beyond or whatever. I just woke up. I'm a little punchy. And then, I meant to refer to my proposed Burnham book and Georgiou group as the Bee Gees, but I forgot to work it in.
I like it. I like it a lot. Yeah, that does make a lot of sense. Dropping off. You got a book. That's the thing. You can put a lot of little ships inside of Discovery. I've said this last episode that they should be using Discovery to drop off, just jump to a part of the world and drop off a shuttlecraft with a beacon in it so they can start getting the relays working, you know?
Yeah.
It should be that would be just save so much trouble if they just get to work on that stuff. I know they've got a lot on their plate, I guess, but
they have a lot on their plate, and also they're still trying to like keep the spore drive thing quiet.
Right.
They're trying to get like specific game plans in motion before they're keeping it a secret from their people, from their own people. So like, it's a little tough, I think. Like, you don't want like rumors of spore drives around the galaxy, and then, you know, one of your captains hears about it and been like, what the hell is this shit? Why didn't you tell us about the spore drive?
Right.
So that, you know, I think they're trying to be careful with what exactly they do with it at this point. But I have a feeling it's all coming to a head anyway. So
yeah, there's 13 episodes this season, right?
Yeah. So we're almost done, man. We've got three more episodes.
And this was a pretty big departure to deal with the Georgiou thing. So like, I feel like these last three are going to just focus in on what's actually going on with the burn, and we're going to get that storyline sewn up.
Yeah, man. So Christmas Eve, New Year's Eve, and the 7th. Those are our last three episodes.
Wow.
I know, man.
This is going to end, and then freaking WandaVision starting. I'm just so excited about that, man.
Yeah, I'm pretty excited.
I just haven't had Marvel content in so long, and I've just been really excited to get back to it.
I hear you, man. I've not watched so many Netflix shows. I'm still floating in the ether, so I've got plenty of Marvel to watch.
You can skip all that. Are you going to jump in and watch WandaVision as it comes out?
I mean, I probably will. I don't know.
You've seen the movies since the Endgame and Infinity War and stuff, right?
Oh yeah, I've seen all that.
Okay, cool. Just making sure. I didn't know.
Yeah,
didn't know.
I don't know how real that Charlie Cox is going to be in Spider-Man thing is, though, and I still haven't watched the latest Daredevil.
There's been no that's not confirmed in any way, and we're not sure they're going to confirm it. My dream is that it's true, but they don't tell us until it's on the screen. I'm a big proponent of stop releasing everything as news and like just have Charlie Cox show up in the courtroom to defend Peter, and then I'm like, just let me have my nerdgasm in the theater.
Right. where the poor theater attendants have to clean it up.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, man. Every little bit of news is treated as some big event now, and I feel like the downfall of that, and Marvel will definitely start getting more and more of this, is that it causes a lot of expectation.
Yeah. Like
if Charlie Cox showed up in Spider-Man Home, or whatever it's called, Third Home, and winds up just being Parker's lawyer and never puts on the Daredevil suit, I mean, and I don't know about it until I'm there, I'm going to be like, oh, that was a cool cameo. Yeah. But if you tell me Charlie Cox is going to be in this thing, my brain is going to start going overtime, and I'm going to go, I wonder if when Daredevil will start helping Spider-Man, you know, or the Spider-Men, as now the rumor suggests, and I don't know. Anyway,
yeah, and that's the thing. It's all rumor at this point. Nothing's really been announced by Marvel, hardly. It's all just like, and we keep getting these things. It's so hard, man. I basically just ignore almost all news that comes out.
Yeah.
Yeah, but
that's fair. You know, I have to be very discerning about the DC stuff. Like, I pay attention to who's dropping the news and why they drop the news, and even now what time they drop the news. because of ulterior motives. Like, I'm like, you posted that after 6 p.m. That means you were trying to slip this under the radar while officially saying something. You're full of crap. You're doing this for bad reasons. Or trying to save your ass, Warner Brothers. But I don't pay attention to anything with Marvel. Like, things come up and I'm just like, oh, that sounds cool. I hope that's true.
Yeah. That's kind of where we are too at this point, which is bad because we do a show. But luckily now we've been for a year and a half and some change. We've been just like trying to make the show based on news and rumor, which is always dicey. And now finally we're going to have just like good content to talk about. And that's what we've been waiting on.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, believe me, I know it's hard to make a show on news and rumor.
Yep.
That's what I've been doing for 700 episodes.
You guys said 700?
No, it's like 620 something.
Okay. Yeah, we're in like the 500 and something over there.
Yeah.
Over in the MCU cast. Oh, I went on superhero ethics this week, and we talked about the ethics of canon.
Oh.
We talked about canon and what it means to have canon, and I thought it was a pretty interesting conversation. We got some interesting kind of like stuff fleshed out about it, if that makes sense. Like, we started talking about
just send them recordings of yourself talking on this show.
No. We talked about this show a little bit and talked about like our different kinds of canon. We talked about so we kind of broke it down, and I thought that this was an interesting sort of exercise because I never really thought about it this way. There's canon that's on the screen, Then there's head canon that you sort of have that's like your explanation for things. But then there's also this sort of personal canon of what the thing means to you. And that is one of the things that we talked about, like everyone has it. It's different for everyone. And that's what makes these things so challenging. Like personal canon is something like where I really care about, I don't know, whatever rule they're breaking in the story, whereas you really care about the ship design. For you, the ship design is your personal canon that you don't let go. So if they make a new version of a thing, it better not change that,
I care about all of it, honestly. But.
Right. I'm just saying there's differences in mine and your canon, like personal canon that like a thing can't change. We weren't talking about Star Trek only. We were talking about Superman and how like my personal canon of Superman, the thing that I view Superman as like important is this idea that he was sent here to be a god over us, and he was raised by a humble farmer, and like that kind of gave him this different ethic, Yeah. And then in the Man of Steel, they changed that sort of, and I don't really get that sense of him from that movie.
Really? I see that more in that movie than most of the others.
Oh, I don't. I think he gets in rewatching. I definitely don't mind it as much as I did the first time through, but in my first time through particularly, I watched Man of Steel, and I feel like I said, in all other versions of it, Paul Kent is like the man who gave him his ethics, Mm-hmm. In Man of Steel, he's the man who taught him how to hide. Like like that's it. That's the only conversation they have in that movie. It's never about like helping anyone. It's always about making sure you stay secret, which is in a roundabout way about doing what's right because they think the world isn't ready or whatever.
Yeah.
But like the only conversation they have in that movie is you better stay secret. Like they're constantly telling him not to use his abilities. And it's like, no, he needs to like know with great power comes great responsibility. We need that. We need the Pa Kent, Uncle Ben moment,
Yeah. Pa Kent does many things, my favorite Pa Kent is from Smallville.
Yeah.
But those early seasons, he is very stay hidden. Don't do the things. They will hurt you. They're not ready for you. Yeah,
he stay hidden, but he also he's still, and it is the difference between a TV show and a movie. He's letting him he's still giving him lessons about life constantly. And I don't feel like the one in Man of Steel, because, and there's not much time. There's telling the story they can tell in the 2 hours, but like, I don't feel like he gets his ethics from his earthly dad at all. And to me, that's always been a big part of the story. In this, It's like he meets Jor-El and he's like, then he starts to adopt this sort of like, my sigil means hope, and I'm here for that, like, and that's what I am. I'm a symbol of hope, and it just feels like to me, it's a different take, and that's fine, but that's my personal canon. It has nothing to do with, it's not wrong, but I don't like it. It pushes against the thing that I think of as essential to that character. Yeah. It was an interesting discussion on superhero ethics.
Okay. I will refrain from having more conversation about it because I could go on for another 2 hours.
I know you've gone on for 700 episodes. Yeah, I think that joke is always funny. It's like when I'm on a different podcast and we start talking about Marvel, I'm like, you don't want to get me started, man. You just don't. I have takes on all of it.
Yeah, it cracks me up because so many people have a problem with, and I have had a problem with it. Now I look at it differently, but I have had a problem with the whole Man of Steel, Jonathan Kent thing. But what cracks me up though is like all the people who are like, it wasn't like the Christopher Reeve movie, and I'm like, what great lesson did Jonathan Kent teach Clark in Superman the movie? Don't lightly race your father, or he'll have a heart attack and die. Like that was their only scene, really. And like the great lesson learned was all my powers, and I still couldn't save him. Well, that's a really important lesson to learn, but it wasn't because of the ethics of Jonathan Kent. It was just because he was a fragile old guy, even when he found the kid.
Right.
Anyway.
Yeah. Any other feedback?
Yes.
All right. What do we got?
Little Trank over on Twitter says, Terra Firma Part 2 feedback. It was a great episode. A nice send-off for Georgiou. Heartwarming and emotional. I will miss her for sure. Which era do you think she went to? 23rd century, honestly. I think she'll likely cross over with Strange New Worlds. And I say that because I just think they didn't spend that much time building Ash Tyler. Nor did they spend that much time building Klingon lady, whose name I can't remember, for them to just, throw them away.
Maybe. I don't know if those two characters mean they're bringing them back for Section 31. That's possible. But I think it's also possible that she ended up in Picard's time.
Maybe.
Or after, cool. or slightly before. Like I could see her. You know what I would absolutely love?
If they scrapped her show and just had her show up on Lower Decks?
No. I want her to be the Section 31 of the TNG through DS9 era. Uh-huh. And we see like the kind of action she's taking and how they impact the world. And then they like draw little connections between that and what was going on in those shows, That
would be really awesome. I don't think they're going to do that.
No, I doubt it. But I'm just saying, if I had to, I don't know what they'll do. I think you're right. I think probably 23rd century, but if I had my way, they'd be getting in there and doing like, the Section 31 show about an era that we really care about and know about. And like, we're just seeing this sort of like behind the scenes of what's going on. It's like almost every episode is, this is a bad idea. But every episode is trials and tribulations, Uh-huh. It's like it wouldn't be every episode, but like you could see sort of like, whatever, like some Romulan war plot is going on, right? And you know how it ends because you saw the Picard thing, but you saw how Picard handled something, but like you see what sort of actions Georgiou and them were taking in the background, like make certain things happen, and it gives everything new context.
Now I just have ideas of like we see a TNG episode and certain things are going on, and then the camera pans over and we just see like Georgiou like peeking out from behind a corner.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I was saying was a bad idea, but yes.
Digitally inserted.
Yeah.
Or like Sloane talking to Bashir.
Exactly.
And then he like leaves and Georgiou is like peeking out from behind the corner. That's the whole show, is just her peeking out of famous scenes.
Exactly. That's exactly what I was saying is a bad idea, but like some of that would not go amiss. Are you following what happened on Mandalorian this week?
I haven't watched it. I'm aware that can we say it? Is it possible to say that?
Spoiler alert out, we can.
Yeah, spoiler alert for the final episode of season 2 of The Mandalorian.
Spoiler alert. It's a big deal. If you don't want to know, don't listen. We're going to talk about it for a minute here. Skip forward.
I am aware there is a young Luke clone.
No.
Oh.
Not a clone.
No, I'm pretty sure it's a clone.
No. Why would it be a clone?
Because Mandalorian happens
2 years after the Return of the Jedi. Yeah.
Or after...
exactly.
Sorry, no. After...
Return of the Jedi.
After Return of the Jedi, but also there's an old-ass Boba Fett. So, I mean...
No. It's only like a year or two after the fall of the Empire. We just never... Yeah. The whole show happens about a year or two after the fall of the Empire. And so this is Luke Prime... who shows up, and I don't know if have you seen all the sequel trilogy?
No, I haven't seen Rise of Skywalker.
Okay, but you still what happens in the second one, episode 8, I guess.
Yeah, that's the best one.
Yeah, it is.
Ever.
I agree. Rogue One is probably a little better. But I love the Rian Johnson one, and in the Rian Johnson one, you learn that Luke started a school for the Jedi.
Sure.
And the way that this season of Mandalorian is basically you see that version of Luke in that time period, which is just pretty cool.
So why is Boba Fett like an old man?
Well, you never saw him in the original trilogy. Why wouldn't he be?
Yes, you did.
He never took.
He was a young man, and he got swallowed in the Sarlacc pit in Return of the Jedi.
Now he has based on that time period, he appears to have gained weight, but you never see his face in Return of the Jedi. He's always wearing his helmet.
Right.
So he's not an old... There's no way to know he's a young man. He's just a Mandalorian.
I guess not, but...
I don't know. You can assume he's young, but he's not necessarily.
Okay.
They do... There's a lot of stuff going on around online. People are calling it fat shaming. But he is bigger than the Mandalorian, and he's wearing the armor, and it's kind of funny.
But then I've heard that Boba is a clone based on the Mandalorian now. That the clone.
No, there's no clones. There's no clones in the show.
No, I mean I've seen people talking about how Boba Fett in the Mandalorian is a clone, so the real Boba Fett is still out there. They've actively said this.
No. They have not actively said that.
Okay.
They literally...
I don't really care.
Boba Fett only ever appeared in a couple scenes in the original trilogy, and he ends up falling in the Sarlacc pit on Tatooine. And in this one, he gets off of Tatooine and goes to find his armor, which has been stolen from him. It is the Boba Fett that we all saw fall in Return of the Jedi.
Okay. I have not seen any of this.
Yeah.
I saw the questionable deep fake that they did of young Luke.
Yeah. I think it's pretty good. And it actually, the episode was directed by Peyton Reed.
That's cool.
Which I thought was really cool. Cause he's on the Ant-Man series, and he famously de-aged Michael Douglas for Ant-Man.
Michael Douglas was done way better.
Oh, for sure. For 100%. But also you're looking at way different budgets.
Oh, I know.
But I just think it's interesting that they're like what they did with Luke. It's really good for a TV. For TV budget, it's wonderful. But just from like not so much from what they did with the technology, but just the storytelling. Like being willing to go there. I just thought it was real cool.
I don't have a high opinion of it, honestly. I haven't seen it, but based on everything I have seen, people can't decide what actually happened in the show. So, apparently they weren't very clear about
I don't know who you're listening to, because none of that shit's true. This is the shit, like, I keep having conversations with people about this, and, like, it's really clear where the time happens. Like, they say it in the first couple episodes.
It's not if you keep having conversations with people about it.
No, it's because people aren't listening. They say, like, people at the first episode of Mandalorian, they're trying to spend Imperial credits. And they're like, we don't take Imperial credits. They fall. The Empire's fallen. So that places it after Return of the Jedi. But I still have people telling me that it's like after New Hope. And I'm like, no, you're just not listening. And I get that it's like, it's buried in context, but like, just, yeah.
Did the Empire not fall in Rise of Skywalker? The New Empire?
No, there was no Empire. There was the New Order.
Oh, yeah, I don't know. It's all the same shit to me.
Yeah, sure. They're all space Nazis, and they're all Sith, but like they're not the same. The Empire is a thing, and all the technology and all the ships and all that you were seeing in Mandalorian is all like period appropriate.
Gotcha.
The X-wings are all X-wings from the original trilogy. The TIE fighters and all of that, and the Empire just fell. Like that's what's going on, and now the New Republic, which is also places it in time, because the New Republic is what not the New Order. What's it called? The First Order. That's what it is. Not the New Order. The New Republic is what the First Order comes against. Anyway, this is a Star Trek show.
I just can't feel my brain cells dying.
I don't care too much about Star Wars, but it still brought warmth to me to see them bring Luke back. That was cool. And it just made me imagine like what they could do on a Strange New Worlds with a young Kirk or a young Scotty or a young somebody coming back. They wouldn't have to do it the way they did. They could recast like they did with Spock. So I don't know, just neat. It's just neat to be able to tell these stories. And honestly, I like the way Star Wars did it better than I like the way that Star Trek did it with Spock, because making him now he's going to be a lead on a series, and it's like it's just rife with issues, I guess. Like the fact that Burnham left Spock in season 2 saying, make sure you find the people who love you, like find your family.
Yeah. And
so he's going to start doing that now. I presume that arc is going to start, and it's going to be weird to like have him find his family, and it probably is going to be like Pike in number 1, and then like we have to imagine that he like sort of goes backwards.
Yeah, I'm not saying this is what they're going to do.
Yeah, I feel like that's what they're going to do.
I feel like they have changed so much. They have the Guardian forever. They brought him in some regard. In some Regardian. They just need to make this a separate timeline.
I don't agree.
So that Strange New Worlds actually can do whatever they want with and have their own stakes and not be concerned with lining, because they were like, oh well, let's jump Discovery ahead into the far future so we don't have to deal with canon. I know, let's start a new show where we're still have the same problem. That doesn't make any sense.
Well, it does if you're then going to make this other show way more like the original series. Because that's the thing. I think Discovery, they came in, they wanted to be like the new hotness and like tell these stories with all this new technology and all this stuff, and then they decided to set it in the original series timeline, which is just like stupid. That's stupid. But if they come in and you're on the Enterprise and they bring it more in line with what the original series Enterprise is like, and and they just tell sort of episodic stories with a little bit of serialization in there, like they could get away with it. It's just that's the show. If you're gonna make a prequel, that's the show you should make.
Which, by the way, I've said it before, I'll say it again. I just walked in, and my wife is watching freaking Mandalorian, and she's watching Mando take off his helmet and do the facial recognition on those old ass computers. And I'm just sitting there going, that looks great.
Yeah.
Why are we not doing this on Star Trek?
Well, because
Give me the buttons.
Nah, I'm fine with it. And here's why. That's in a galaxy far, far away a long, long time ago. We are talking about the future of right now. And when I have an iPad in my hands, you can't go back. Like, yes, you could do some of it, but you can't go back to fucking Pong, man. You just can't. You can't go back to exactly the displays they were using in the original series.
To labor under this delusion that Star Trek is our future is suicide for the franchise. It just is.
No, it's not.
It just
is. No,
it's
not.
It's silly.
It does mean they need to stop setting things in the year 2000 or whatever.
They absolutely do. And they should have never had that episode of Voyager where they went to 2000. Yeah, I'm like, no, you told me the eugenics war was going on during 1996.
Yep. Which, I know there's books written that like try to make all that work.
Yeah, there is, and it's Greg Cox, so it's they're good.
You're like, it's pissing you off that it works.
Oh no, it doesn't piss me off. No, dude, Greg Cox should be working on Discovery as far as I'm concerned. He should be running all of these shows as far as I'm concerned.
Right.
But I like Discovery for what it is. I like all these things for what they are. I just don't necessarily agree with everything they do.
Yeah. Well, unfortunately, that is the delusion we're all running under, is that it doesn't have to be exactly our timeline.
No, it doesn't.
Of course, it's a fictional timeline, but it is still, they do still have the same basic markers of time, the same basic technologies. We've seen the 80s, we've seen the 90s. We know they're similar to us in technology, and to be like, hey, yeah, we stopped having touchscreens. That just doesn't exist anymore. It would strain believability.
I mean, not really. They've already ripped off a video game. We'll just go and rip off Battlestar Galactica. There was a reason they went backwards in tech.
Yeah, sure.
Anyway, Little Trank goes on, says, I hope Georgiou goes to, just after Enterprise ended, to help build Section 31 and weave it into the Federation Charter.
Ooh, just after Enterprise ended. That could be interesting.
Could be interesting.
I don't want more prequels. I really don't. But at this point, they're telling stories from every part of Star Trek. So, everything's a prequel now.
Mm-hmm. He says Carl's reveal was really awesome, even if a bit dramatic. Well, it's the Guardian forever. He was dramatic back in the day. You gotta do dramatic. I get the feeling he is positioning Georgiou to do something special in the universe. I don't. just having changed, I think, is enough. He says, I feel like Carl will come back into play next season. I think maybe even this season. There's also a lot of temporal war stuff going on that has to be connected to the burn. Could that Kelpian ship be some long-term backup rescue plan for the Federation, or possibly a Nakul time weapon? Could the burn itself be a term of the treaty? I just feel it's related. Is it possible that next season will be about the temporal war? A trip throughout time as they are retroactively recruited into the temporal war. I'd watch the hell out of that.
Ooh,
that would be everything I wished Enterprise was.
I like that term, the fact that the burn could be terms of the temporal war. Like, what if the burn itself was an agreement that they made? All right, now really I'm going to get up my own ass here. So what if, like, just in true post Fight Club fashion, you go You go and they find out the burn was a part of these temporal accords. Like they were like, yeah, but we'll all agree to this, but we have to destroy our dilithium and slow all our technology down because we've gotten to whatever, right? Like that's part of the agreement. So they do it. So that they find this out and they realize the only thing to do is basically the only way to stop the burn is to reopen the wounds of the temporal wars, right? And Burnham and team go into that and fight it for all of season 3. And then it ends.
4.
Oh, right. They fight the temporal war for season 4, maybe even season 5. Maybe it's the rest of the series, right? And then the
just
series.
Pull full DS9.
Yeah, exactly. And then the series ends with them being the people who make the agreement in the first place.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
Because they're like, we see the cost now. We see why that deal was made, Yeah, anyway.
Or they find out that there was an agreement, and then they fight in the temporal war, and then likewise, they find themselves in a situation where they are in a time before the original series, sometime between Enterprise, and they have to change. They have to, bring technology back down. Like if there was even if they brought in their Kelvin verse, it would be really cool if they're like, this is what happens when we have too much technology. Look at how this timeline happened. Look at how the temporal war, we need to perpetually keep changing things so that humanity doesn't get too far, too fast, because we will screw everything up. I like that notion. Yeah,
it's fun, man. I think there's a lot of directions they can go with it, and I am pretty much here for all of them. I don't know. I don't know if I want. We just talked at the beginning of this episode how a time travel story is really hard to tell properly because you either fill it with paradoxes or you have no stakes. One of those two things. And I don't know. I don't know what I would actually want from a time travel. I don't know if I actually want a series of Star Trek where they're actually doing time travel constantly.
I would like to see it.
Yeah, I'd watch it for sure. That's no question there.
I mean, we'd probably bitch about it every episode, but I want to see it still.
Yeah.
So let's see. Chris Balga of World's Finest True Believers, by the way.
Hey, that's right. Chris, what's up, man?
Fantastic podcast. Gives his top 5 for original series episodes.
Oh, yeah.
For us to consider for our rewatch. 1, City on the Edge of Forever. 2, Balance of Terror.
Yeah.
3, Space Seed.
Good one.
4, Let That Be Your Last Battlefield. And 5, Mirror Mirror.
That's 5 great episodes.
It is. The only reason Balance of Terror isn't on mine is because of all the whispering. You know what I'm talking about, don't you?
I can't remember.
I remember we watched that episode together, and we were both just cracking up at that. They are on a ship in the middle of space.
Oh, that's
whispering so that the other ship can't hear them. There is an old submarine. And the episode is totally an old submarine battle type of thing. But yeah, it's just what are y'all doing?
Yeah, that's pretty silly.
Stu Little replies to the same thing. It says, TOS I'm least familiar with, but 1, Balance of Terror, 2, Amok Time, 3, City on the Edge of Forever, 4, A Piece of the Action, cause gangsters, and 5, The One with the Quatloos.
I love all the names and then The One with the Quatloos.
Yeah.
It's pretty wonderful.
Yeah. That was, oh man. I want to say Gamesters of Triskelion.
I don't know. That one's not one that I have the name on the top of my tongue.
Yeah, which, by the way, I think that newspaper, the Star Dispatch that the Guardian had, said that it was 15 Quatloos to purchase it.
Oh, that's awesome.
Anyway,
that's really
that's all of our feedback that I know of, and Sweet. I'm sorry if I missed something. Guys, I always miss something.
Guys, thank you so much for the feedback. That makes it me and Dave, one of the major reasons we have this show is just so we can sit here and talk about Star Trek, and you guys joining in and throwing out your thoughts really make it feel like a bigger discussion and, a more thoughtful one, if we're being honest.
Yeah. I mean, look, man, we're still just a bunch of nerds talking about Star Trek.
Yep, exactly.
And Star Wars and Terminator and Man of Steel.
That's right, man. This is what I do, darling.
And now Firefly.
Yeah. Oh, speaking of, I would be remiss if we didn't mention this Firefly reboot that is being rumored.
No, please no.
Have you heard about this?
Yes, I've heard about it.
Please no. I agree with that completely.
I mean, fine. Remake the thing.
Yeah, sure.
One, I'm not going to watch it because I don't want to give Joss Whedon any more money at this point. I've heard too much. I've seen too much. Cancel the guy. Two, I don't think there's a way you make it family friendly and make it Firefly.
Agreed.
Again, alternate universes, whatever. Do whatever you will.
They can do whatever they want, but it like takes away from the spirit of the show. Things like one of the companion system. Like, I think that's an important part of the show. It was making a statement about sex work and sex shaming, and like, I don't know. I really just I love Firefly, and it just pisses me off, honestly. If they make the show and do the changes that it seems like they would want to make it family friendly, just fucking make up your own thing. Like, don't use my fucking fandom that I love to spike your dollars and make your own thing. Like,
but look, that's fan entitlement. First of all,
it is.
The owners of the thing said, look, here's the truth. About the reboots and everything. Everyone always cries, why can't you just come up with something original? Because you don't fucking watch it. Nobody watches it. If it's original, nobody watches it. Yeah. People want brand name recognition. Original sci-fi is dropped, thrown by the wayside.
It doesn't matter. I don't care if they don't make something new. I don't care if they make more Firefly, but honor what was made before. Do not change it in such a way that it disfigures it and like ruins the spirit of the thing.
But that's the thing. Like, even if you had Joss Whedon and Tim Minear sitting down and writing the damn thing, and it was in universe, there's no way it would be as good as the original series and the movie. Just no way.
I don't agree with that. Why wouldn't it be?
God, there's just no way. Because it was perfect. It was really the most perfect TV series. It came together quicker than any other TV series I'd ever seen. It's like there's no way but down.
I agree with you that it's wonderful and it's perfect, and I don't think it would be the same show, but you could make a show, and I don't think it has to be Joss Whedon or Tim Minear. It probably needs to be someone new that would take up the mantle. It probably, at this point, it needs its own next generation, we're far on to that show having been out, and it's time for it. I would be happy for them to revisit the Firefly universe, tell a new story, but keep this is my personal canon. This is my fan entitlement. I fully agree with you, but like, keep what is essential about that show. Keep it in. Like, don't throw away the essential components of what they made and then tell me it's Firefly. Fuck you. Like, that is fan entitlement. Yes. And I am entitled to feel that way. Because, and I guess this is all part of what we talked about on that canon, ethics of canon episode on superhero ethics last week. It really, I think it is very, unethical to change the tenets of a story to the point that they're unrecognizable and then tell the fans that it is that thing just so they'll spend money on it when it's not the thing, Yeah, but then, the fans ultimately vote with their dollar. Sure. Like they might. Yeah, but that's the thing is, like, there's people like me and you who are going to watch, if they do Firefly, I'm going to check it out. And maybe it'll be great. I don't care if they make it family friendly. I really don't. Like, I don't mind if it's a little lighter than the previous show on like the sex and murder. Like, that's not what I'm there for. But like,
don't forget the rape. Or the cannibalism.
Yeah, exactly. Like all of that stuff is just not gonna like if they just remake it in a way that completely sanitizes it for our protection, that will be as
Joss once claimed Star Trek was.
Exactly. That's one of my favorite Joss quotes about Star Trek. He says, "Sanitize for our protection," and I think that's true of a lot of Star Trek. And I do not want to see Firefly go that way.
I mean, I don't want it, but at the same time, I'm not gonna watch it anyway, so it doesn't really matter. I don't want to see like Return to Mayberry Firefly with like overweight Mal Reynolds, hobbling around, visiting a Nara's grave or some weird crap. Like, I just don't care anymore. I liked it for what it was. I won't watch a reboot. Not, mainly because I don't want to put any more money in Whedon's wallet, and I've just heard too many things now. I don't care.
Right.
Have you heard about the James Marsters song?
No.
He wrote a song about looking at an underage girl and talking about her feet and stuff, and it turns out it was about Michelle Trachtenberg while they were on the set, while she was like 14 or something, and he and Joss knew about it and just thought it was really funny, and it's just, I'm good.
I guess I'd have to hear the song, but to understand what that, I don't know.
He's just singing about how hot she is, and in a couple of years, she has got a crush on him, and in a couple of years, she'll be too hot for him, and the whole thing is yuck, man. I'm done.
Yeah, I mean that's gross, but like, I don't know. I just had to. I guess I'd have to hear the song.
I know, delicate genius, artistic assholes.
No, but
whatever.
one of my right. Yeah, that's how I feel about Joss. But also, like, one of my favorite albums of all time is Pinkerton, and it has one of the key songs. One of my favorite songs on the album is about how hot this girl in Japan, this 15-year-old girl is in Japan.
18-year-old girl.
Oh, is it 18? Oh,
yes, sir.
It's smart.
No, I was like, where are you going with this? Don't you ruin Pinkerton for me.
No, but yeah, anyway, he's like an older man. He's like in his 30s at that point, singing about this 18-year-old girl who it would be wrong for him to get with. It would not surprise me if that song was actually about a 15 or 16-year-old. Like, it would not surprise me at all. That's the point of the song, is to be like, this is a bad impulse to be attracted to this girl. And I'm a sad old man. Like, that's the point of the song. It's like we always talk about with when what was it? Dave Chappelle. They got on his stand-up last year and tried to cancel him because of his stand-up. It's like, no, in the joke, he's the bad guy.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
I get it.
So I'd have to hear the song, is what I'm saying. Like, if he's kind of picking on himself, and it kind of even just your description sounds like it is. It sounds like he's saying,
it is, but when you factor in all the other Joss Whedon stuff, it's just gross and bothersome to me. Like, if all the other Whedon stuff that's come out is enough.
Sure. I haven't followed it at all. I haven't followed it at all. I'm also not really like into his stuff at this moment, so it's not like a current thing I'm having an issue with.
Did you know about him leaving the Nevers, right?
I heard about it. I heard that he left. I'm assuming it's related to all the whatever.
Officially,
that's going on.
He left due to quote unquote exhaustion.
Right.
Ray Fisher and HBO just said we have parted ways with Joss Whedon. Joss Whedon said it was because of exhaustion. Ray Fisher said it was because the investigation concluded and has officially concluded, and over 80 people were interviewed, and it seems like it was probably because of that. But then, like, almost now immediately after, Freeform canceled a Joss Whedon show. Just like, nope, we're not doing that. And just shut it down. Some other show that he was developing for them.
Yeah.
But like doors are closing quickly for Whedon.
Yeah, but I don't know.
I know. You probably won't ever believe anything.
No, it's not that I don't believe anything. I have yet to hear anything that was disqualifying. Like, it sounds like he's an asshole. Sure. He sounds like he's a bit of an asshole on the set, but so have been a ton of other creators. And like, I don't know. I that's not enough for me to be like it. Sometimes when work is good enough, it affords a creator a little bit of being an asshole on the set. Like I'm not saying he didn't cross a line. I just haven't heard this line. I guess. I get you. Like, I'm not saying that you can't cross a line, and also I'm not saying I'd want to go to like Thanksgiving dinner and hang out with him. You know what I mean? Like, I might not want to spend a week with him, and that is a fair reason for people to stop hiring him. Like, it's a fair reason to cancel him.
I mean, if you're going to cause lawsuits and be a problem, no, you don't need to be hired.
Sure. But his work has also stood for itself for a long time as some really great stuff he's made.
I mean, until Age of Ultron, which a lot of people have had issues with.
I love Age of Ultron. I think Age of Ultron is really underrated. And I think it is suffering from the fact that it's not the first Avengers movie. And it's really hard to play that trick twice.
You know, I would have agreed with you before, but now it's like looking at it through the lens of like Kai Cole's statements, all of the stuff that she's talked about with Joss, and
I don't know who Kai Coles is, so I just don't know anything, and I haven't looked into it, but I also haven't like been following his stuff, so I don't know.
Yeah, I mean,
I just know, I know Ray Fisher.
Well, Kai Coles' his ex-wife, who wrote that big expose a few years ago, talking about how he was like cheating on her with every woman under the sun, all these young actresses, because of him being a powerful producer.
Right.
Quoting a letter that he wrote to her explaining why they're getting a divorce and whatever.
Right.
But whatever, man. I mean, look, we're talking about Star Trek. Gene Roddenberry.
Yeah. It's just there's a lot of assholes in this industry, and being an asshole in itself, even cheating on your wife, isn't a thing that I'm like, oh, that just disqualifies you from being able to make media ever again.
Well, no, we're not talking, but this isn't just like cheating on your wife. There were strong implications of like Weinsteining these girls.
Right. And that is a different thing. If there's actual like credible, accusations of that's a different issue, but I haven't heard those. You saying that's the first time I've heard of him, being involved in something like that. That's the first time I've heard someone imply that, and I still, going through a contentious divorce, if that's the only, I don't know. It's
legal issues is still not, for legal reasons, is still not all out, but we'll see. I mean,
yeah, we will. And if I guess I'm just not jumping on any of the bandwagon. Like I'm like, yeah, I haven't heard anything yet that I'm like, whatever. Like I being an asshole is one thing, being a predator is another, and and one is disqualifying and one is not to me. Depends on how much of an asshole you are, I guess. But like, I there's obviously a line. Like,
sure.
And a lot of great directors crossed it.
And they should have been done away with a long time ago.
Yeah, for sure. And I'm
because you could still be a genius, but treat people like people.
Agreed. And the thing, like I wouldn't hire someone like that. I don't blame anyone for not hiring someone like that. I wouldn't want to spend every day with them. But also, I freaking love Buffy. I love Angel. I love all the stuff that he created. And he probably was just as much of an asshole then.
Yeah. All indications would seem to point to, yeah.
Yeah. So,
there was a whole Charisma Carpenter thing where, he fired her for getting pregnant.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's, that one definitely sucks. And it's complicated by the fact that like what story did he want to tell? Like if he fired her because she was pregnant and it was because, oh, you're not going to be the cute girl on the show anymore, you're done. Like that sucks, and that I would have a problem with. But if he took her off the show because her being pregnant didn't fit into the storyline, and it was and it was impossible to shoot around, like, you know, it's all complicated. It's all complicated. Like, and it's hard to know anyone's intents and all that stuff. Like it sounds like he's a bit of
he left her in a coma for 2 years or a year for a whole season, and then brought her back just to kill her. I mean,
yeah. Oh, I know.
That's not. Suddenly, like those episodes meant something to me at some point, and now they don't. Like now they just mean, wow, Joss is an asshole.
Yeah, that's really unfortunate. I hate that for you. I still just see what's on the screen right now. I mean,
it's like when I watch like those Janice Rand episodes of the original series, and all I can think about is like Gene, forcing himself on her and her saying no, and then him firing her.
Ugh, I didn't know about that.
Yeah, that's why Grace Lee Whitney was only on 6 episodes of the original series or whatever it was. Like,
that's awful.
And people will absolutely defend because she never said the name of the producer, but we all know who it was. We all know who it was. Like, you can go back and read biographies or autobiographies of the stars and stuff and know who they were talking about. Or who she was talking about, like,
sure.
Oh, God.
Yeah. See, and that's the thing that sucks is like there's a certain bit of, you know, what disqualifies a person and what doesn't, but there's also a bit of like separation of art from artist, and
there's a bit of that.
You know, you gotta. Everybody's got to draw their lines, and I do kind of draw the line often at whether the person is still actively making money and using that power. So like, if it's shown to me that Joss Whedon was, you know, actively harming people, and then they put out a show that's putting money in his pocket, it would be tough to support that show. Like by
the time I found out about Roddenberry, he was dead, like long dead.
Right, exactly. So it's like they like you talking about your view of that Angel episode changing. To me, that doesn't happen currently to me for that, because it's just like going back and watching any Star Trek. Is all Star Trek tainted now because there was the creator had some bad things in their life? Maybe. I'm not saying it's not, but it's like I don't
think it's all tainted. There are certain little things that bother me though.
Yeah,
for sure.
Yeah, I have no doubt.
There's the way that Uhura is sexualized at times, like knowing that he was having an affair with her. Yeah, that bothers me.
Yeah.
Knowing that Nimoy was a rabid alcoholic at the time bothers me quite a bit. Taints the show for me to some degree. Watching Devil in the Dark, knowing that Shatner was going through so much emotional turmoil because his dad had just died, bothers me. Just noticing things like that, just knowing too much about how the sausage was made. Does pepper things. I can't watch the Cosby Show for God's sake.
Yeah, I feel that's a show that has not been on the air very much here lately.
No, it's not. Like I can't. One of my favorite comedy albums was himself, and I can't listen to that shit anymore.
Yeah,
like every Cosby comedy special is fantastic. It is fantastic. I can't listen to it now. It ruins it for me.
Yeah.
So, I mean, as much as I want to say separate the art from the artist, there are certain elements.
Like, for sure.
It helps that Roddenberry's dead. Like, it sounds bad, but it helps. Yeah. It does. Like, I'm not worried about it.
Well, you're not worried about giving money to a monster. Like just putting money in the fuel of a guy who is doing monstrous things.
Right.
But yeah. So yeah, there's definitely a line that can be crossed, and I'm I'm definitely willing to listen at some point to like kind of excavate how I feel about this Joss Whedon stuff. But I just haven't yet heard anything that I'm like, yeah, that sounds like that tears it all down for me. But I also I'm not as close to it as you are.
Yeah.
Because you've been dealing with all the Ray Fisher stuff over on the DC On Screen cast. I don't know anything about the Ray Fisher stuff really. I know the basic outline of what he claims that he was mistreated.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you this. Jeff Johns is now going over to Image. Like, because he name dropped Whedon, Berg, and Jeff Johns. And now suddenly Jeff Johns is having way less to do with DC. Like, these investigations do not seem to have been kind.
Right.
To Whedon, Johns, or John Berg was already gone. But yeah. So I don't know. Dry up their lakes. I'm good. I mean, I love Jeff Johns' writing. I'm sorry that he's a jackass and is apparently responsible for several bad things. I hate it.
Yeah, man.
I really do. That's true of Whedon and Johns.
Yeah. And the thing is, so this is all where I go back to our Firefly discussion, which is the whole thing. Like, I think there are new creators. I think there are great new creators and creators who have not been
given the opportunity.
Yeah. Yeah. Like I totally would be fine with a Firefly series with a similar ethos. You know, it doesn't have to be the same, but a similar ethos that like tackles it from a new perspective. I don't even really mind if it's not too risque, but I just don't want them like changing. Yeah, I don't want it watered down. I don't want it to be a totally different show with totally different, like, I don't know, a philosophy, I guess.
Yeah.
I really, really love the original, and if they give me something that's so different, it will be very disappointing to me.
Yeah. And I guess at the end of the day, my at the end of the day, I guess my stance on it is I'll watch it after Joss is dead.
All right. On that note. On that note, you guys thanks for listening to us yammer on about way far things from Star Trek this fine evening. And we'll be back with you next week for one of the last 3 episodes of the season. I am very excited.
Me too. Well, maybe we won't be back next week. Oh my Lord. That is Christmas Eve. And,
are they dropping it? They are dropping it on Christmas Eve?
Huh?
They are dropping it on Christmas Eve?
Looks like it, yeah.
Okay. And you don't think you can do... Well, we'll talk off cast about this.
Yeah, man.
All right, guys.
We'll figure it out, though.
We'll figure it out.
We'll figure something out.
We'll get something in the feed next week to talk about this next episode.
We'll try, at the very least.
All right. Jolan True, my friends.
Live long and prosper, and cake is eternal.
Thank you for listening to the Star Trek Universe Podcast, a Stranded Panda production. If you'd like to hear more from David C. Robertson, check out the DC On Screen podcast or mileage us to .tv for his web videos. If you'd like to hear more from Matthew Carroll, check out the Marvel Cinematic Universe podcast or listen to his music. Just search for Matthew Carroll anywhere you get music.